So we'll start today's ramble on. We're in Blisworth and we're at the Royal Oak, which is the only pub left in the village. Been here for hundreds of years, 17th century, and still thriving. We're going to have a walk down towards the canal and look at some historical places on the way. Walking down the high street now towards the church. There's the old bakehouse. Lots of interesting old cottages. And the church is late 13th century. Next door to it is the rectory, which is 1841, a massive building. And there are some graves in the churchyard, but the main graveyard is actually across the road. St John the Baptist Church at Blisworth, and next to it, through the trees there, a massive rectory. We'll cross over and take a closer look. Lots of interesting old graves. Going up the steps now, being careful not to trip up. There we are. And there's the base, the stump of where the old cross used to be, long since gone. Very, very old doorway there. And look, there's the rectory, which looks older than you think, but according to the books and the internet, it's 1841. And then we're just going down there. The pub, well, it's not a pub any longer, but across the road there's a white building that's been renovated. It's been renovated for years, but they don't seem to be making a great deal of progress. And it was the pub called the Sun, the Moon and the Stars, which I expect was very popular with the canal people, because it's practically next to the canal. So it's that white building on the left, just behind the van. There's a closer look at the rectory. Now this is the graveyard. I suppose it must be an overspill graveyard. It's directly across from the church. And who's this in here? Richard. No, can't read it. A chart here, which is unusual. I've been in lots of graveyards, but I've never seen one of these before, that sort of a map, if you were, of who's where, birds that you can see. There we are. Here's a closer look at the sun, the moon and the stars. You can see it's very, very old. Apparently it's been derelict since 1990, so there's probably a lot of work to be done, although the front door looks quite nice. Yep, they've certainly done something there. So this very nice building is Blisworth Mill. It was built in 1879 and it was a flour mill. Closed quite soon after it was built though. It's now apartments, but between 1900 and 1985 it's been used as a warehouse, a wine bottling factory, spice and herb packaging, and for food storage in the war. Apparently they stored a load of tinned food in there they were fearful that that the convoys couldn't get into this country with the food supplies because of the German U-boats, so lots of tin food was stored there. They look like very nice apartments now. That is Grafton House, which years ago used to be the Grafton Arms, another pub in the village. There's obviously a lot of work going on here with all these vans about. And there's another view of the mill. There used to be a big chimney there as well, but that was knocked down years ago. A peaceful scene on the canal. Some swans in the distance. I think this is one of my favourite stretches of the canal. It's very quiet, very wooded, and it leads up to the Blisworth Tunnel. You can see the rectory up there in the church in the background. We're coming up to the Blisworth Tunnel now. On one of my future walks will be at the Stoke Bruin end. Apparently it's the third longest tunnel on the canals in the UK. It was started in 1793 and opened in 1805. Hundreds and hundreds of navvies built it with little pickaxes and shovels, really. There's plenty on the internet about it. Here's a little information board, and it's 1.75 miles long, and they had to put ventilation shafts in, let me see, was it 1871, when boats were powered by engines rather than horse-drawn. The fumes were gathering in the tunnel, so 1871 they put in air shafts, which you can see as you walk from Blisworth to Stoke Bruin in the fields. It's a lovely stretch of canal though here, very quiet. You can probably see, just peeping over the hedge there, Blisworth Stoneworks. Apparently that was the office, or the offices, for the big quarry that was behind it. There was quarries all around these parts, and lots of local buildings were built with that. The Blisworth Stoneworks, 1821. Passing some lovely thatched cottages now. Clematis Cottage, I'm not sure what that one's called. And then next to it there's the allotments, which I was lucky enough to go round last year. A lady said, did I want to have a look? And they're massive. There's over 70 different people have allotments in there, and they're very well kept. There's some chickens in there too, and bantams. One's like a Spanish setting. Oh look, there's some snowdrops. So yeah, you know, you can see them sort of going way over the hill. So this little cottage here has got one of those fire plaques on that indicated that they were insured. That one says Birmingham. Although the fire engines would have a long way to come from Birmingham, wouldn't they? So many thatched cottages in this village. And there's a lovely honey-coloured thatch there, which is unusual. And then down here is the manor house, Blisworth Hall. It's always a clue when you see somewhere called the stables, isn't it? That there was a big house, and they were obviously the stables. So if we just walk down here, old wall, and another thatched cottage, And Blisworth House will be here around the corner. Two massive trees here were round the back of the church, and I'll be careful because it is all private. Blisworth House. Apparently the Wake family, who are the owners of Courtine Hall Estate and all the land around here, they lived there until the 1520s, and then it was all completely rebuilt in 1702. Here we are coming up to the Baptist chapel. It's a very big one, isn't it? Sometimes they're much smaller. So this is still functioning. It's still used as a church, and I think it was, is there a date plaque on it? Let's have a look. I think it's probably 1890s or something like that. Can't actually see the date up there. Very good condition, isn't it? Back through the village now. Just walking back round to the pub now where the cars parked. More thatched houses and that unusual brickwork. It's sort of brown and cream. And then if we go up here, more thatched cottages. That one there is being rethatched, and if you look at this sign here on the side of the buildings, it says Hovis, so it must have been a bakery at some stage. We are under the railway arch at Blisworth, Robert Stevenson's magnificent building of 1837. Just on the Northampton Road out of Blisworth, and the railway was a very important part. We'll see where the station was before. It's still in use now. It's been electrified. And here these two villas, Blisworth villas, were built in 1839. They were built as two, even though you might think that they were one. And they were built to advertise the pleasure garden, the quarries, to advertise the quarries in Blisworth to people on the train. And in the 1850s, the right-hand one was the GP's house, and there was a little shed in the garden that was used as his surgery. Blisworth had a massive railway, station, junctions, sidings. 1842 the station was built here. There's nothing left of it now. And across the road in 1851 was the station hotel. Doesn't look anything like that now, does it? It's a walnut tree, but it was very famous. It was a long tale, but quite an interesting tale really, that here we go. There was pleasure gardens, and the Shaw family, who owned the Angel Hotel in Northampton, and the Phipps Brewery family bought the hotel and 3.25 acres, which you can see why some of those caravans are parked now. And that was to become the pleasure gardens. There were special trains ran from Northampton, which the fare included admission to the gardens. It was quite something in those. In Victorian days, pleasure gardens were quite popular with the working classes in particular, and there was brass bands, there was entertainers, stars from London Vauxhall Gardens and Bellevue at Manchester. There was refreshments, horse-drawn carriages came in from Towcester. There was hot air balloons, Chinese musicians, tightrope walkers. Blondin, who was famous for tightroping over the Niagara Falls, he came here. Fireworks, music. There was glass candle lamps in various colours hanging from the trees. So in 1879, the new owner of the pub and the pleasure gardens built a concert hall and a roller skating ring. There was an outdoor swimming pool added in the 1920s, but then by the time it came to the 1950s, the caravan site started to be developed, and it housed a lot of workers from the M1. Also, there was some winter lets to circus folk and their animals. It's hard to imagine what a bustling place this must have been, with the station and the railway hotel and the pleasure gardens. And the Earl of Grafton, who still lives at Wakefield Lawn, Pottersbury, he used to come up with his coach and horses and get dropped at the station to go to London. Quite something for this. Here's a little poster, look, about the fete and gala, and a picture of the pleasure gardens, part of it. There's the station house, and yeah, the hotel as it was in 1908. So we'll end our little tour of Blisworth here with the canals and the railway. It must have been a very bustling little village. It's quite peaceful now. Hope you enjoyed it, and like or subscribe please if you do, and I'll be putting some more up soon. Thank you.